Hey guys, welcome to a new video. We are now preparing for paper 2. So we're going to be going through the grade 12 NSC exam for November 2022 now. And as you know, my focus on these papers and this revision is just question for question or section for section. So for today and for now in this video, we're just going to be focusing on question 1.2, which is about cost accounting and the manufacturing. So we're dealing with Weza Stitches, owned by Annie Brown, manufactures bathroom towel sets, and buys fabric from local suppliers. The information relates to the financial year ended 30th June 2022. Note that there was no work in progress stock balances. Okay, so the required part is to calculate the following for the financial year ended 30th June 2022. Direct labor cost, factory overhead cost, and total cost of production. Okay, so my focus is actually going to be on 1.2.1 as well as 1.2.4, which says Annie wants to improve her profit by 50,000 Rand during the next financial year while maintaining costs. Calculate the additional units that must be produced to achieve this target. So we're going to start with the direct labor cost, and in the information given, they say 6 workers were employed in production in 2021 and 2022. Each of them worked 1,840 hours normal time during the year at 40 Rand per hour. The overtime register reflected a combined total of 230 hours worked at 1.6 times the normal time rate. And production staff received a production bonus of 8% of the normal time wages. So we need to calculate what all of this is for our direct labor cost. So we're going to start with your normal time, which equals to 6 workers multiplied by, well, actually, we'll just put the sum here, 6 workers multiplied by 1,840 hours and multiplied by 40 Rand per hour. Okay, then we have overtime, which equals to 230 hours worked, right, at 1.6 times the normal rate, which, as we know from before, is 40 Rand. Okay, and then we have a bonus for the production staff, which is 8% of normal time wages, which is this one. So over here we're going to have bonus, which equals to 8%. So if we want overtime, we're going to have to say 230 times 40 Rand, which is the normal rate, multiplied by 1,6, because that's the overtime rate. Okay, so if we want to calculate the bonus, we actually need to do the normal time first. So if we do our calculation, 6 times 1840 times 40, which gives us 441,600. And then if we do the sum for overtime, it's 230 hours multiplied by 40 multiplied by 1.6, which gives us 14720. Now, if we want the bonus, guys, it's going to be 441,600 times 8%. So let's see if we can do that one here. It equals 441,600 multiplied by 8, which is 35328. So guys, if we want the direct labor cost, we're actually going to have to add all of these 3 together. Now I've done the calculation here with Excel. It says 491,648. So we're just going to put that there, 491,648. Just want to make sure on that, 491,648. There we go. Okay, then we have the factory overhead cost. Okay, so guys, with the factory overhead cost, they tell us the bookkeeper calculated the factory overhead cost as 541,600 Rand. However, he made the following errors, which must still be adjusted. He included the entire insurance expense of 32,500 Rand to the factory overhead cost instead of only 60% of this expense. And he allocated 54,000 Rand to the factory water and electricity using the ratio 3:2:2 for factory, sales, and office respectively. This expense should have been split in the ratio 2:1:1. Okay, so it's these two adjustments, and in the answer sheet they've only mentioned these two items, which is the insurance and the water and electricity. So let's see what we can do here. Regarding the insurance, guys, the entire amount of 32,500 Rand has been included in the total for factory overhead costs of 541,600. Okay, that's wrong because only 60% should be allocated to the factory. The other 40% will be allocated elsewhere. So what must you do? You must actually calculate the correct amount, and we must find the difference because, again, you've added the full amount to your factory overheads and we only want 60%. So we actually need to calculate the difference first. So if we say 32,500 times 60%, we would get the correct amount that's required for insurance. Okay, so let's quickly do that. 500 times 0.6. So what should have been allocated to factory overheads should be 19,500. Instead, we allocated the total of 32,500. So what does that mean, guys? It means the difference between the two figures actually has to be removed because it's too much. So let's quickly see what this is. $13,000. So what does it mean, guys? It means we must actually reduce the insurance cost by 13,000, which means this total cost must also be reduced. So if I put here minus 13,000, or even in brackets, it will still work. All right. And then water and electricity. The bookkeeper allocated 54,000 Rand to factory, water and electricity using the ratio 3:2:2 for factory, sales, and office respectively. This expense should have been split in the ratio 2:1:1. So guys, the 54,000 has been divided according to the ratio 3:2:2. Now, as you know, if they give you a ratio like this, we actually have to use a fraction because this will give us a denominator of 3 plus 2 plus 2, which is 7, and the numerator will be 3 or 2 or 2, based on which department we're working with. So what they did was they said 54,000, well actually no, what they said was the total for water and electricity multiplied by 3/7 gives you 54,000. So we have to work backwards in order to get the total for water and electricity. So we're going to say multiplied by, now I want the total, which according to our ratio is going to be 7. And what do I have? They used 3/7. So what do I have? I have 3. So if we do this sum, we're going to get the total for water and electricity for the entire company. So we're going to say multiplied by 7 divided by 3. 126,000. This means the total water and electricity is 126,000. Now guys, remember we have to apply it in a new ratio of 2:1:1. So in this new ratio, our fraction becomes 2/4 because 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So it's going to be 2/4 for the factory, 1/4 for the sales department, and 1/4 for the office. So now, what do we need? We need to calculate the new expense for water and electricity using the correct ratio. So what are we going to say? 126,000 multiplied by 2/4. So if we do that sum over here, times 2 divided by 4, 63,000. Now guys, 63,000 is the correct water and electricity amount for factory overhead costs. Now, what have you entered as water and electricity? You've used 54,000. So what does it mean, guys? It means we're short a certain amount. So we have to say 63,000 minus 54,000. And if we do that sum, going to get 9,000. What does it mean? It means we need 9,000 Rand more under factory overheads for water and electricity. So we're going to add that 9,000 over here. Now, if you add those three together, and remember it's a minus over there, we're going to get our total. So let's quickly do that sum just to be sure. So now we're going to say 541,600 minus 13,000 plus 9,000. And that gives us 537,600 as the total, correct total for factory overhead costs. Okay, now we're going to move on to the total cost of production. Now guys, remember earlier they said that there were no work in progress stock balances. Now work in progress just means items that are ready or in the process of being completed. Now if they're saying there's nothing like that, it means that we don't have any balances, and therefore cost of production is actually direct material plus direct labor plus factory overheads. So what are we going to do here? We're going to say direct material, direct labor, factory overheads, and we're going to add those amounts together. Now direct material was given to us over here as 652,800. Direct labor, guys, we calculated over here as 491,648, and factory overheads we calculated over here as 537,600. Now I want you guys to remember, regardless of whether you think you're correct or not, if you made a mistake or if you didn't, doesn't matter, use the amounts that you calculated in the previous questions because it's worth marks. So what's our total cost of production? It's going to be these three items together, which gives us 1682048. 1682048. Okay, and that is 1.2.1 done. Now I want to go to 1.2.4 because I always find this to be an interesting question. 1.2.4 says Annie wants to improve her profit by 50,000 Rand during the next financial year while maintaining costs. Calculate the additional units that must be produced to achieve this target. Now guys, this is essentially a twist on your break-even point formula. Your break-even point formula is usually total fixed costs, I'll actually put it down here, divided by your contribution margin per unit. Okay, and if you have forgotten, contribution margin per unit is equal to your selling price minus variable cost per unit. Okay, so instead of doing this to calculate break-even point, we're going to substitute total fixed costs for the 50,000 Rand that Annie wants as extra profits. Okay, so guys, let's calculate contribution margin quickly because it is given. So we're going to look down here. There's your selling price per unit. It's 375 minus variable cost per unit 244. Okay, that's going to give us the contribution margin, and your total fixed cost was given as the profit of 50,000. So if we want our answer, we're going to say 50,000 divided by 375 minus 244. That gives us 381. So if we round off, and it is always better to round upwards, we're going to get the amount of 382 units. So that means Annie must manufacture and sell an additional 382 units if she wants an additional profit of 50,000 Rand.